Imagine waking up one morning and realizing nothing excites you anymore. The things that once lit you up now feel hollow. The hobbies that once stirred your soul, they've become lifeless routines, duties, not desires. Conversations feel like echoes. You speak, but the words land flat. They don't move you. They don't reach you. Even the pleasures you used to chase, movies, music, laughter in crowded rooms, they no longer stir the spark they once did. You search, you scroll, you reach, hoping something will break the spell. But everything feels the same, empty, muted, dull. And then, in a quiet moment, a strange thought creeps in. Is this all there is? If you felt this, you are not broken, you are not alone. This state, this heavy stillness, is more common than we admit. But few ever speak of it. Fewer still understand it. At first glance, it might look like boredom, a passing burnout, just another foggy season. But what if it's something else? What if this isn't a problem, but a message? A message from deep within, from a part of you that has gone unheard for far too long. Today we'll explore this feeling, not to numb it or escape it, but to understand it, to see what lies beneath the surface. Why does life lose its color? What invisible weight steals our joy? And most importantly, how do we begin to return to ourselves? Because beyond this numbness, there is a truth, one that doesn't just change how you feel, but how you live. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist and visionary thinker, dedicated his life to understanding these moments of inner collapse. He believed that when life begins to feel hollow, it is not a trivial discomfort, but a profound signal from the unconscious, a sign that we have drifted away from meaning, from authenticity, from our deepest selves. You see, from the moment we're born, society hands us a script. Do well in school, get the job, find success, be liked, be safe. We are taught to chase happiness outside of ourselves, in grades, in paychecks, in approval. And for a time, it works. The rewards feel real. But slowly, something inside starts to fade. Because the soul does not thrive on checklists. It longs for truth. It longs for purpose. And when those longings are ignored, the emptiness arrives. Jung taught that this emptiness is not a curse, but a crossroads, a sacred signal, a quiet invitation to return to what is real. Not what you've been told to want, but what your soul truly seeks. So if you feel that nothing excites you anymore, pause. Listen. This may not be the end. It may be the beginning of becoming who you were meant to be. But what if this emptiness is not a curse, but an invitation? An invitation to step beyond the shallow comforts of distraction and begin a deeper journey inward. A journey not of escape, but of self-discovery. Carl Jung called this path individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. Not who you were told to be, not what the world expects, but a self that is real, whole, undivided. And yet most people resist this journey. When the hollowness creeps in, they don't slow down. They speed up. They chase new hobbies, new thrills, new experiences, desperately trying to revive a feeling that's already fading. They fear stillness, because stillness reveals truth. And truth, real truth, can be uncomfortable. But in that discomfort lies the key. The way forward is not through more noise, but through silence. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you felt truly alive? Not just amused, not just occupied, but alive, vibrant, rooted in the present, so absorbed in what you were doing that time itself disappeared? If that feeling seems distant or gone altogether, it may be because you've outgrown the things that once defined you. And that's not failure, it's evolution. This emptiness you feel, it's not a flaw, not a weakness. It is a sign, a message from deep within, whispering that you are ready for something more. More than distraction, more than comfort, more than the roles you've been playing. Yes, change brings discomfort. But what if this pain is not punishment, but a passage? What if the life you've known must dissolve, so the life meant for you can emerge? Before you can rediscover meaning and purpose, you must first understand what's been stealing them. The disconnection isn't random. It's shaped by psychological patterns, by societal pressures, even by the biological rhythms of your body. Until you recognize these forces, you remain trapped, chasing fulfillment in places that cannot offer it. In the next part, we'll begin to peel back those layers. We'll uncover why so many feel disconnected, even when their lives look successful on the outside. And more importantly, we will begin to chart a path forward, not toward fleeting highs, but toward something deeper, something lasting, a life that doesn't just look good, feels real. So ask yourself, what if the emptiness you feel is not a problem to solve, but a message to hear, a signal from the soul saying, it's time. Yet most people don't listen. They numb, they scroll, they run, they flood their days with noise, hoping to drown out the silence. But the silence remains, and in that silence is your beginning. But they never do. Carl Jung believed that this inner emptiness, this quiet ache, is not something to fear or silence. He saw it not as a flaw, but as a message. When life feels flat, when meaning slips through our fingers, it is often because we have become disconnected, not from the world, but from ourselves. Jung called this the suppression of the self, not the version of you that performs, pleases, or conforms, but the real you, the deep, instinctual self that longs to live authentically. Modern psychology echoes this insight. Studies show that a lack of personal meaning often leads to emotional numbness, anxiety, even depression. The mind and soul crave purpose. Without it, we fall into stagnation, a kind of spiritual paralysis. We move, but we don't feel. We speak, but nothing resonates. But where does this disconnection come from? Why do so many of us lose touch with what truly matters? The answer begins early. From childhood, we are taught to follow a script. Study hard, get the job, build the life, be productive, meet expectations, stay safe. We are rewarded not for being ourselves, but for playing the part. Success becomes something measured from the outside. Titles, income, appearances, not from within. So we build lives that look full, but feel empty. And at first, we don't even realize it. The busyness keeps us numb. The distractions keep us moving. But over time, the cracks begin to show. What once brought joy loses its spark. The dreams we chased no longer inspire us. We feel something is missing, but we can't name it. Jung believed this moment is crucial, a turning point, not a breakdown, but a breakthrough. If we choose to listen, but many don't. Instead, they try to rearrange the furniture of life. A new job, a new city, a new relationship. They hope that by changing the scenery, they can restore the feeling. But no external shift can heal an internal fracture, because the real problem isn't where you are. It's who you are no longer. The sense that nothing is fun anymore is often the symptom of something far deeper, an identity in transition. You no longer resonate with who you used to be, but you haven't yet met who you're becoming, and so you stand at the threshold of transformation. But crossing it requires something rare and feared: stillness. Stillness forces you to stop running, to sit with what is raw and unresolved. It silences the noise long enough for the truth to emerge. Your unmet desires, your buried emotions, your untapped potential. It is not comfortable, it is not easy, but it is essential. Because it is only in that quiet that you begin to remember who you really are. Because only when we face these inner truths can we begin the sacred work of rediscovering what truly matters. This is why Carl Jung placed such profound importance on introspection. He believed that the cure for emptiness is not found in the external world, but within, that we must turn inward, into the very depths we've long avoided, and there ask the questions most people spend their lives running from. Who am I? Beyond what I've accomplished. What stirs my soul? Beyond what I've been told should excite me. What truths have I buried inside myself, afraid to confront them? These questions are not comfortable, but they are necessary, because the path out of numbness begins with self-awareness. Meaning is not something the world hands us. It is something we create. And the ability to create it starts with the courage to look within. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you truly explored who you are? Not as a job title, not as a role in someone else's story, but as a person with unique thoughts, secret longings, and untapped dreams. When was the last time you let yourself follow your curiosity, not for approval, not for achievement, but simply because something deep inside you whispered, "This matters"? One of the quiet tragedies of modern life is that we stop being curious. We stop exploring. We trade wonder for routine and call it stability. But slowly, it drains us. The soul cannot thrive in repetition alone. It needs renewal, and there is a way back, a way to reawaken the spark, to remember what it feels like to be alive. It begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of fearing the emptiness, we must learn to see it for what it truly is. A doorway. Not the end of something, but the invitation to something greater. But what lies beyond that doorway? How do we move from stagnation to renewal? From dull repetition to vibrant purpose? In the next section, we'll explore the practical steps that lead there. Not abstract theory, but real transformative action. Steps that can reconnect you with meaning, passion, and presence. And by the end of this journey, you may come to see that this phase of emptiness, this hollow quiet you once feared, was never a dead end. It may in fact be the most important turning point of your life, because there comes a moment when the world begins to lose its color. The things that once filled you with joy feel routine. The activities that once lit a fire in you now feel mechanical. And you ask, why does nothing move me anymore? Why does everything feel so hollow? But perhaps the answer isn't out there. Perhaps all along, it's been waiting quietly within you. Carl Jung believed that these feelings of emptiness, of disconnection, are not random. They are signals, messages whispered from the unconscious, urging us to grow. He called this process individuation, the journey of becoming the person you were always meant to be. But the path is rarely easy, because most people resist this evolution. They hold tightly to old identities, old routines, old beliefs. Even when those patterns bring them nothing but pain, they fear change, even when it's their only way forward. But here is a quiet truth. When life feels empty, it's not because there's nothing left to enjoy. It's because you've outgrown the things that once sustained you. Just as a snake must shed its skin when it becomes too tight, you too must release the outdated versions of yourself. You must let go of what no longer fits, to make room for what wants to emerge. The discomfort you feel is not a flaw. It is a signal, a sacred call to a deeper, more honest way of living. Yet so many ignore that call. Instead, they chase external solutions, new purchases, new entertainment, new relationships, anything to distract from the stillness within. But no matter how much they consume, the feeling always returns. Because the issue isn't out there. It never was. It lives within. Ask yourself, when was the last time you sat alone, without distraction, and listened? Not to the noise of the world, but to the voice inside you. What do you truly want? Not what others expect, not what you've been told should make you happy, but what genuinely stirs something within your soul. For many, the answer is silence, and that silence is where the disconnect begins. In our modern world, we are constantly overstimulated. Social media, endless entertainment, instant gratification. We are surrounded by noise, yet starved for depth. We chase moments of pleasure, but we lose touch with fulfillment, and over time we become numb. The things that once thrilled us lose their spark. The stream of distractions dulls our sensitivity to joy. We want more, but we feel less. Jung warned us against this passive drift through life. He believed that real fulfillment does not come from the outside in, but from the inside out, from within transformation, from living in alignment with your truth, from honoring the needs we're taught to ignore, the need for purpose, the need for meaning, the need to express our most authentic self. The more we suppress these needs, the more we drift from who we are. And that disconnection, that slow, quiet unraveling, is what gives rise to the feeling. that nothing is fun anymore. Because until you reconnect with who you really are, no distraction will ever be enough. So how do we break free? How do we reignite the passion and wonder that once made life feel vibrant, but now feels distant, faded? The answer lies not in chasing more, but in choosing consciously. Because if disconnection is the illness, then reconnection is the cure. Reconnection with ourselves, with our long-buried desires, with the subtle sparks that remind us we are still alive beneath the numbness. The first step is to create space for stillness. It sounds simple, but in a world wired for noise, true stillness is rare. Sit in silence, turn everything off, and listen. Not to the outside world, but to what stirs within when the distractions fall away. What thoughts arise? What feelings surface? These quiet moments often hold the truths we've been too busy to hear. The second step is to explore without expectation. We've been conditioned to believe that everything we do must be productive, that every interest must become a goal. But this mindset suffocates curiosity. Let yourself wander. Read something simply because it intrigues you. Try something new, without a reason. Pursue what draws you, even if it leads nowhere. Because often it's in those seemingly trivial pursuits that we stumble upon the lost pieces of our joy. The third step is to reflect on past joys. Go back. Remember a time when you felt deeply engaged, fully immersed, undeniably alive. What were you doing? What did it awaken in you? Those moments still live within you. But we forget. We drift away. We outgrow some things, yes. But many passions don't die. They're just waiting for us to return without judgment, without pressure. And finally, the most essential step of all, embrace transformation. If life feels dull, if everything feels disconnected, it is because something within you is ready to evolve. Do not resist it. Do not cling to the identity you've long since outgrown. Let yourself change. Let your values shift. Let go of the life you thought you wanted, so you can step into the life your soul is quietly calling you toward. Change is not your enemy. It is the invitation, the threshold to a deeper, more authentic existence. And yet you might still ask, what if I've tried all of this and still feel lost? What if nothing seems to work? What if the emptiness remains? That question, though painful, may hold the most important insight of all. Because there is one final, fundamental truth about meaning and fulfillment. A truth so deep that once it is understood, everything begins to shift. And that is what we'll explore next. In the next section lies a truth that most people never come to understand, a quiet secret about meaning, so easily overlooked, yet so powerful that once seen clearly, it can change the way you experience life forever. And the truth is this: meaning is not something you find, it is something you create. So many people spend their lives chasing meaning as though it were a hidden treasure buried somewhere in the future. They believe that one day they'll stumble upon the perfect career, the perfect relationship, the perfect purpose, and everything will finally make sense. But that day never comes, because meaning isn't waiting to be discovered out there. It's not something the world gives to you. It's something you give to the world, from the depths of who you are. Carl Jung saw this clearly. He believed the highest aim of life is not to become someone else, but to become yourself, fully. To integrate all that you are, the noble and the flawed, the conscious and the hidden, into a complete and authentic self. This process of becoming whole, what Jung called individuation, is not found in chasing external goals. It is found in living truthfully, in aligning your life with what resonates deep inside. The more you do this, the more meaningful life begins to feel. So if nothing excites you anymore, perhaps the real question is not, where do I find meaning? But rather, how can I bring meaning to what I do? This is the final and most powerful shift, not waiting for life to feel meaningful, but learning to infuse it with meaning. One way we begin is through deep engagement. We live in an age of endless stimulation, but shallow connection. We skim books instead of reading them, scroll past faces instead of speaking to them, bounce from one task to the next without ever sinking into any of them. But meaning lives in depth, not in speed, in presence, not productivity. Ask yourself, when was the last time you did something with your full attention? When was the last time you allowed yourself to be completely absorbed? Not by a screen, but by an experience? Psychology has a name for this: flow. It is the state where time fades, the self dissolves, and all that remains is full immersion in the moment. And it is in these moments, when you are truly here, that meaning begins to return. Another way to create meaning is through service, through giving yourself to something greater, a cause, a person, a purpose beyond the confines of your ego. Because strangely, it's often in the act of forgetting ourselves that we rediscover who we are. Many people feel empty, not because they have nothing, but because they've stopped giving. Not just time or effort, but presence, care, intention, spirit. And so the path to meaning is not found in running from the emptiness, but in choosing to meet it, to fill it with something real. Not tomorrow, not when life feels perfect, but now, exactly as you are. Because this moment, right here, is your canvas, and meaning begins with the way you choose to paint it. Many people feel lost because their lives revolve solely around themselves, their own wants, their own fears, their own private storms. But meaning rarely flourishes in isolation. It often begins when we shift our gaze outward, when we step beyond the tight walls of self-concern and choose to give something back. You do not need to change the world in grand, heroic ways. You don't need to fix everything or be everything. Sometimes meaning is found in the quiet ripple of a kind word, in teaching what you've learned, in creating something that nourishes another soul. Even small acts of service can awaken a deep sense of purpose, because they remind you you are part of something larger than yourself. Jung also warned us that disconnection from life often stems from something even deeper, a disconnection from the self. Not the self you show the world, but the one you've hidden away. The parts of you you've labeled too dark, too inconvenient, too strange to be accepted. Maybe it's a fear you've denied, a desire you've buried, a truth you've been too afraid to speak. But what we suppress doesn't disappear. It waits beneath the surface, quietly pulling the strings of your discomfort, that lingering sense of something missing. It's not a flaw. It's a signal, an invitation. Because only by facing what's hidden can we begin to feel whole again. Only by turning inward, through reflection, through honest conversation, through the silence of a journal page, can we begin to reclaim the forgotten pieces of ourselves. And the more whole we become, the more vibrant life begins to feel. So when you find yourself saying, nothing is fun anymore, don't dismiss it. That feeling is not meaningless. It's not weakness, it's a call. A sign that your soul is no longer satisfied with the surface, that you're ready for something deeper, more real, more you. But transformation doesn't happen while we wait. It requires movement. It requires choice. The choice to live deliberately, to seek depth over distraction, to engage instead of escape, to create meaning instead of endlessly searching for it. So ask yourself, what is one thing I can do today to engage more deeply with life? What conversation can you bring more presence to? What small task can you infuse with care and intention? Where can you offer a piece of yourself genuinely, openly, without expecting anything in return? Because in the end, meaning is not a destination. It is a practice, built slowly, quietly, moment by moment, and the power to build it has always been yours. Thank you for listening.